This is a story that will shatter everything you believe about success, failure, and what it truly means to live. Sarah stared at her reflection in the kitchen window, watching her husband Mark pack his briefcase. At 35, she felt like a ghost haunting her own life. The marketing degree gathering dust, the half-finished novel buried in her laptop, the art supplies she'd stopped buying, all monuments to dreams she'd convinced herself were childish fantasies. I used to want to change the world, she whispered to Mark over morning coffee. Now I can barely change the channel without feeling guilty about wasting time. Mark studied his wife's defeated expression. There's someone I want you to meet. The old woman in that tiny hut at the end of Maple Street, Mrs. Chen. Sarah looked startled. The woman everyone calls crazy? Why would I? Because she might have answers to questions you're afraid to ask. That afternoon, curiosity overcoming skepticism, Sarah found herself before a weathered wooden door. The hut was smaller than her garage, surrounded by an extraordinary garden, vegetables in perfect spirals, flowers arranged in patterns that seemed to tell stories. Mrs. Chen opened the door before Sarah could knock, 80-something, with eyes that sparkled like someone who'd discovered the world's best-kept secret. You're here about dreams, the old woman said simply. Come in. The interior was sparse but luminous, books stacked everywhere, paintings covering walls, jasmine tea scenting the air. Sarah had expected poverty. Instead, she found richness beyond measure. I was once like you, Mrs. Chen said, pouring tea into delicate cups. Afraid to want too much, afraid to fail too badly. She gestured to a faded photograph, a young woman hunched over a typewriter in a cramped apartment. That's me at 25. I dreamed of being a novelist who would change the world with words. What happened to your dream? Sarah asked, looking around the simple hut. Everything, Mrs. Chen smiled mysteriously. I started writing at 18. My first novel was rejected by 47 publishers. Rejection letters wallpapered my apartment. My family called me delusional. For 7 years, I wrote during the day and cleaned office buildings at night to survive. I lived on instant noodles and hope. She pulled out a worn shoebox filled with rejection slips. My second novel? 62 rejections. My third? 89. Mrs. Chen's eyes grew intense. At 32, I was broke, alone, and everyone, including myself, believed I was chasing something impossible. I took a corporate job, convincing myself I'd write on weekends. Those weekends never came. For 15 years, I climbed ladders that led nowhere near my heart. She showed another photo, herself in an expensive suit, looking hollow despite apparent success. Then my mother died. In her things, I found every story I'd written as a child. She'd kept them all. Her note said, "Dreams don't have expiration dates, darling. They have heartbeats." That night I quit, started over at 47, wrote my fourth novel in this very hut. It was rejected 93 times before one small publisher said yes. It became a bestseller that changed a million lives. I was 52 when my dream finally came true. Sarah's voice trembled. But 34 years of rejection? How did you not give up completely? Weren't you afraid you'd wasted your entire life? Every single day, Mrs. Chen admitted. There were nights I burned manuscripts in frustration. Days I applied for normal jobs just to escape the pain. I questioned my sanity, my talent, my right to dream so big. She looked directly into Sarah's eyes. But I learned something profound. The dream wasn't torturing me. My resistance to it was. Every day I didn't write, I died a little more. Every day I did write, Regardless of outcome, I came alive. Dreams are not about talent, luck, or timing, Mrs. Chen continued, pulling out dozens of published books with her name on the spine. They're about endurance. Getting back up 300 times when everyone thinks you should stay down. She showed Sarah letters from transformed readers, literary awards, photos from worldwide book signings. After my breakthrough, publishers wanted everything I'd ever written. Those failed novels became bestsellers. I could have lived in mansions, traveled in luxury. Mrs. Chen gestured around her simple home. But I chose this hut because success taught me something failure never could. Dreams aren't about having more. They're about becoming more. This simple life allows me to write 8 hours daily, tend my garden, and touch souls through stories. Every dream has 3 phases, she said powerfully. The honeymoon, where everything seems possible. The hell, where everything seems impossible. And the breakthrough, where you discover the journey was always the destination. Most people quit in hell. Champions learn to live there until heaven arrives. Sarah felt something crack open inside her chest, not breaking, but blooming. As Sarah walked home, Mrs. Chen's final words echoed, "Dreams don't need courage to come true. They need courage to be born." The only tragedy greater than a dream deferred is a dream that dies with its dreamer. The next morning, Sarah opened her laptop and began to write. Not because she knew she'd succeed, but because she finally understood that living without trying was the only failure that truly mattered. Follow your dreams. Let's stay together in this journey of growth. Like and subscribe to stay connected.